Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. We are joined by Whitney Thompson. Whitney, thank you and welcome.
Thanks so much for having me. Very
No,
excited
of course.
to be here.
Come close to the mic. Come close.
All right.
So you are the 2023 Mentored Fellow. So you've just started fellowship, is that right?
Correct, yes.
Tell us where you're at and what is your area of interest.
Sure. So I am at Mayo Clinic, which is home for me. I'm originally from Rochester. And I'm actually doing a combined fellowship in neonatology and medical genetics.
Oh, very valuable.
I have a feeling as to where this is going to go now.
Yeah. And I'm studying BPD.
No.
No, I'm so for my Mentored Fellow project, the focus is on benchmarking outcomes and looking at best practices for management of neonatal onset urea cycle disorders.
Wow.
Very interesting. Very low frequency.
It is, and that's why this is such a great opportunity because, as you can imagine, really hard to study this at any single institution because of how rare these disorders are. And so there's actually over 500 cases in the database from the CHNC. So really cool opportunity. What
prompted you to pursue this particular area?
So I'm, of course, very interested in genetics in the NICU setting, and I know you talked with our focus group leaders from genomics yesterday, and they talked about, how rapid genome sequencing in the NICU is now, our first line test, and that's what we're doing at Mayo. And so now with our increased ability to diagnose rare disorders quickly in the NICU, it's especially important now to figure out kind of best practices for management. And so that's kind of what led to deciding on this project, and I've always just been interested in metabolic disorders as well.
And I mean, I think your idea of, the double fellowship is, I think, one that we're going to see more often. So tell us a little bit about how that works.
Yeah, so I agree. I think it's going to be, something that is going to be offered by the boards in the coming years because of how much interest there is. I was planning to do MFM in genetics throughout most of medical school, and then I did a NICU sub-I, and I just fell in love with kind of the intersection of genetics and NICU. And so I went into residency knowing I wanted to do this path. And basically we just proposed to the boards, and they agreed, and it's I switch off every month between the two fellowships. And
that's tough.
It's tough, but it's a lot of fun. It's a nice balance of inpatient, outpatient, and
you make it sound as if you're going month to month. But I am 100% sure.
You have some calls in there.
Oh, yeah. Right? When the genetics fellow is also on, I'm sure you get some calls, some curbside.
Oh, absolutely. I'm on 24/7 for any genetics cases. I'm kind of the go-to person now for...
Whitney, quick question, right?
What do you think about...
I actually just answered one right before I
got
here.
Go.
So,
there
yes, but I love it. So it's exciting. And we're doing so much genetic testing in our NICU now that it's a lot of fun.
And because our geneticist at our previous institution stopped coming to the cafeteria. And I was like, what happened? Is everything? It's like, no, I just can't. Like, I can't eat. Like, it's every 2 seconds somebody has a question.
Me.
So, and let me ask
bothering me and not consulting me.
That's right. Yeah. And so genetics. I mean, are you seeing also adult patients?
I'm seeing a lot of adult patients, which is new, and I'm enjoying it a lot more than I thought I would. But my hope is, so we're working on starting a NICU genetics follow-up clinic for all of our patients who are getting genome in the NICU. So my hope is that I'm going to slowly kind of take that over as my project, because that's really the population I'm most interested in. And my research is really to follow those patients over time who have had genome.
So I know you're just getting started, but what are the kinds of things you're hoping to look at and hoping to achieve in improving quality of life for these patients?
Yeah, so specifically for this project, patients with urea cycle disorders, if you look in the literature, there is almost nothing out there about management in the immediate neonatal period. And so our hope is to really figure out kind of why are some patients doing better than others, and how can we best manage these patients in the NICU, and how can we identify these patients quickly. So I think that's where this Mentored Fellow project is going to be really valuable. Outside of this project, I'm very interested in the implementation of rapid genome in the NICU, and my main research project is figuring out how we can follow these kids over time and increase our yield of genome as we get new phenotype information over time.
And so you're the newest Mentored Fellow. I recall that by this point in my fellowship, just a few months in, I still had no idea what I was going to study or how I was going to do it. So how did that work for you? Like, what was the application like?
Let me ask you one more question then.
Sure.
Did you do residency at the same institution?
I did, yes. Yep. And I'm actually in a clinician investigator track. So I knew I wanted to do a lot of research. And so I've my fellowship was set really at the end of my first year of residency, and so I've had a lot of time to think about. And I did grad school in medical genetics before medical school, so I've known this is my area of interest. Yes, yeah. The big change was going from doing MFM to NICU, but I've always known this is kind of my area of interest, so that has helped. And
I think that's one of the advantages of trying to do your training at a single institution over the course of 6 years. Seriously, I mean,
I know I did that, right? And I still didn't.
But I didn't, and that meant that projects had to be 3 years, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
right, and so that was quite difficult. That's quite difficult. I had the opportunity to stay at my training institution, but I didn't. But it is what it is. I think that's one of the big advantages, that you're able to hit the ground running when fellowship time comes.
I'd still like to know a little bit about the process. When did you guys have to submit for the mentored award?
Sure. So I think it was March of last year was kind of the initial, you submit a 1-page kind of letter of intent, and then they review, and I think we heard in a couple months later to submit a full proposal. And I think my year they picked 3 fellows to submit a full proposal, and that was a 5-page kind of detailed what exactly are you going to be studying, and going through kind of the manual for the database and saying exactly what data points you're gonna want to pick out. And then I heard in I think July, it was my first day of fellowship is when I heard, so it's very exciting.
That's great.
Way to start fellowship.
That's not a bad way to start.
Yeah, you're usually welcome on the first day of fellowship with some calls and some blood gases, and it's kind of nice. Well, any other questions, Afna?
No, I think you've given us a lot of information. We're really looking forward to seeing what you do. I don't like working up those urea cycle disorders.
I don't like it either.
Well, hopefully we can come up with a guideline so you don't have to think about it.
That would help us a lot.
We'll be looking out for that.
That's
publication.
Well, I'll look forward to updating you next year on the results.
That sounds like a great plan.
Thank
Whitney,
you.
thank you
Thanks so much.
Thank you.